Sue Aikens first rose to fame through the hit National Geographic reality series Life Below Zero, but while the show made her a household name, it also became the source of one of the most troubling chapters of her life. What started as an opportunity to showcase her survival skills in Alaska soon turned into a legal and emotional battle. Everyone has heard whispers of what she did, but the real question is, can we truly blame her? And was she really the one who jeopardized the future of the show? Today, let's take a closer look at Sue Aikens' story and uncover the truth behind what really happened. The controversy surrounding Sue Aikens shocked fans when news broke that she had taken legal action against the producers of Life Below Zero. Viewers who had admired her toughness were divided. Some were curious and wanted to know what actually happened, while others rushed to judgment, insisting that no matter the circumstances, she had no business suing the producers of a show that had made her famous. Yet Sue's side of the story painted a very different picture, one that revealed physical danger, emotional distress, and shocking mistreatment behind the scenes. According to Sue, the trouble began when she sustained a severe injury while filming a dangerous scene. She claimed that she hadn't volunteered to perform the stunt, but was pressured into it, and that was only part of the story. Sue also revealed that one particular producer repeatedly intimidated and verbally abused not only her, but other members of the crew. For her, the lawsuit wasn't just about one accident. It was about standing up against bullying and mistreatment that had pushed her to her breaking point. After all, it wasn't just her pride that was at stake. It had nearly cost her her life. Court documents revealed the disturbing details. In a civil complaint filed in the U.S. District Court in Anchorage, Sue alleged that a producer forced her to drive her snow machine into an overflow situation as reckless as asking a surfer to ride directly into a massive wave. This wasn't just for thrills. It was a manufactured stunt meant to entertain viewers. The incident was tied to a Season 5 episode titled The Crash, which aired between June and December 2015. Tragically, Sue did crash, suffering serious injuries. But what shocked fans even more was her claim that she was deliberately kept waiting for medical treatment, just so the cameras could capture dramatic footage. Her lawsuit, a lengthy 32-page document, listed multiple defendants including the BBC, 3 of its subsidiaries, producer Aaron Melman, and several unnamed crew members. The charges included breach of contract, interference with her business, and infliction of emotional distress. Sue was determined to bring these issues to light, with her lawyers demanding a jury trial and financial damages, though no specific amount was requested when asked about the case. A BBC Worldwide Reality Productions spokeswoman, Christine Black, said the company had not received a copy of the lawsuit and therefore could not provide an official response. Meanwhile, the defendants argued that Sue had signed an agreement that required her to cooperate fully with production and not delay filming. But Sue's lawyers countered that nowhere did the contract force her to put herself in dangerous situations or risk her safety for the sake of footage. By February 2015, tensions were escalating on set. The production team had set up camp at Sue's Kavik base, but filming continued despite bitterly cold and dangerous weather. Sue frequently raised her concerns, but her protests were ignored. She clashed often with producer Aaron Melman, who insisted on pushing for more extreme and visually appealing content. On February 18th, during the filming of a camping episode, Sue had chosen a familiar and safe location. However, Melman overruled her, demanding they use a spot further downriver. He then forced her to travel there on a snow machine and sled rather than the safer Argo ATV. To make matters worse, the lawsuit claimed he also compelled her to abandon her aging pet dog at camp, a heartbreaking detail that left her distraught. The show was marketed as unscripted, but according to Sue, producers often dictated what she could or couldn't do. When she tried to remind them that her contract was to showcase her authentic lifestyle, she was met with resistance. Her ideas, such as hunting for ptarmigan for food and feathers, were dismissed, while dangerous stunts were pushed instead. When Sue refused to risk traveling over unstable river ice, Melman, allegedly erupted in anger, shouting not only at her, but also at the safety crew, reminding them that they worked for him, not her. Things came to a head when Melman insisted Sue speed across an overflow section of the river ice. Despite her objections, she was pressured into it. The cameras rolled as Sue hit an ice ridge and was violently thrown from her snow machine. She later recalled hearing her bones snap on impact. Injured, freezing, and stripped of much of her gear during the crew's attempt to help, she was left exposed to temperatures between 15 and 20 degrees below zero. What happened next outraged many when revealed in the lawsuit. Instead of arranging for an immediate rescue, Melman allegedly refused to call a rescue plane right away. Instead, he instructed the crew to transport her back to camp and then ordered the pilot to land at the far end of a mile-long runway. Why? Because he wanted more footage this time of Sue struggling in pain as she tried to walk while injured, though the lawsuit didn't list her specific injuries in detail. It stated that Sue had to undergo multiple surgeries and continues to suffer from chronic pain in her back, arms, and legs. These injuries not only changed her health permanently, but also limited her ability to maintain the rugged lifestyle she had built her identity around. Beyond this particular accident, Sue accused the producers and companies behind Life Below Zero of creating an unfair environment. According to her, the contracts protected the network and crew, but offered her little in the way of safeguards. If her allegations were true, the show's continuation without major changes seemed nearly impossible. For some, the controversy raised an important question. Can we really blame Sue Aikens for taking a stand? Now that we've examined the darker side of her time on the show, let's step back and look at Sue's life story, her adventurous career, and where she stands today. Sue Aikens, whose full name is Susan Aikens, was born on July 1st, 1962. Although some sources suggest she may have been born in 1963, unlike the wild and rugged image fans know her for today, Sue actually began her life in the quiet suburbs of Mount Prospect, Illinois. It may come as a surprise, but before she became a wilderness survivalist, she grew up in a typical suburban environment, far removed from the harsh Alaskan wilderness that would later define her identity. Her early life, however, was marked by instability. When Sue was about 12 years old, her parents separated, a difficult reality in the late 1960s and early 70s, when divorce was still stigmatized. In an interview with Melissa McCarthy on The Ellen Show, Sue recalled how her mother, wanting to start fresh, gave her a paper bag and announced, "We're moving to Alaska." That moment changed Sue's life forever. Constantly on the move, Sue had to adapt to new environments. But despite the upheaval, she managed to focus on her education. Remarkably, she graduated high school at the very young age of 13. From her teenage years onward, it was clear she was no ordinary girl. Sue was adventurous, fearless, and always eager to test her limits. She even went so far as to learn how to fly an airplane, an ambitious pursuit for someone so young, and one that hinted at the independent and daring spirit that would later carry her through life in Alaska. By her early 20s, while most young women her age were focused on dating, marriage, and traditional careers, Sue was carving her own path. She headed north to Alaska, driven by a love of adventure and a passion for the natural world. As she once put it, even from a young child, I lived in between my own ears more than I did anywhere else. And I think in pictures, so I try to describe how I live, how I feel in colors, shapes, and sounds, but I only have words and a deathly stare. Her life since then has been nothing short of remarkable. Living on her own in some of the harshest conditions on Earth, she has become a symbol of resilience, self-reliance, and strength. As the sole resident of the Kavik River Camp, situated nearly 200 miles north of the Arctic Circle, Sue has not only survived, but thrived in an environment that most people would find unbearable. Sue Aikens' home, the Kavik River Camp, lies deep in the wilderness of northern Alaska. Right alongside the Kavik River, the camp's location makes it one of the most isolated places in North America, surrounded by snow, ice, and predators like bears and wolves. Yet, Sue calls it home and has turned it into both a personal haven and a business for adventurous visitors seeking the Alaskan experience beyond managing the camp. Sue has always sought to inspire others with her lifestyle. She has often spoken about her deep connection to the Arctic, describing it not just as a place to live, but as a part of her soul. The Arctic and wilderness have been a passion and part of my soul for a long time. I have always wanted to be a lighthouse keeper, and extreme isolation is just my fit. She once explained her philosophy toward life as both practical and profound. She believes emotion should not dictate one's actions, saying, "I don't usually come at life from a place of fear or emotion." Sue has also been outspoken about her run-ins with predators. In interviews, she described intimate in-your-grill encounters with animals, moments where survival depended on quick thinking and courage rather than panic. Rather than viewing these predators solely as threats, she often speaks about finding a common understanding with the man approach that highlights her respect for the natural order of life in the Arctic. Her survival skills and experiences have made her a sought-after speaker at events, where she educates others about living off the land, the importance of self-sufficiency, and the mental toughness required to endure extreme isolation. Through social media, she has also built a loyal fan base, sharing glimpses of her day-to-day life and encouraging others to embrace resilience. Her motto, simple yet powerful, is, "If it hurts, don't think about it." Sue Aikens' name became widely recognized through her role on National Geographic's award-winning documentary series Life Below Zero since its debut in 2013. The show has drawn millions of viewers fascinated by the brutal reality of survival in Alaska. Among the cast, Sue quickly stood out for her humor, grit, and no-nonsense attitude. At the Kavik River Camp, 197 miles north of the Arctic Circle, Sue showcased the challenges of living in complete isolation. Her daily responsibilities included repairing equipment, maintaining her camp, welcoming visitors brave enough to stay, and fending off the constant threats of predators and whether that could kill in minutes. Every episode reminded audiences just how harsh life could be in such an unforgiving landscape, and yet, Sue faced it all with courage and wit. Through the show, fans witnessed her not only enduring, but excelling in conditions most could never imagine. Her lifestyle became both an inspiration and a fascination, proving that self-reliance and determination can carry a person through even the toughest trials. When Sue Aikens was asked how long she planned to stay at the Kavik River Camp, her answer revealed not just her mindset, but the philosophy that has carried her through some of the harshest conditions on Earth. She said, "I will say I give credence to my raven personality, and one day I will see something shiny over the hill and can do no other than to explore it." We do not always get to be the architect of our situations in life, but we are the engineering departments always on how we react. I have traveled much, but there is so much to see. I will be here until I am not, by whatever designs life has. This poetic response summed up Sue perfectly. Restless, curious, and deeply aware that while we cannot control every circumstance, we can always decide how to respond to them. Throughout the long run of Life Below Zero, viewers came to know Sue for her no-nonsense, straightforward personality, her gritty appearance, and her extraordinary ability to adapt to the unforgiving Alaskan wilderness. She didn't just talk about survival, she lived it every single day. On the show, she often opened up about her experiences, including dangerous encounters with bears, which served as proof of her remarkable strength. These stories gave audiences a real sense of what it takes to live entirely off the grid. In an interview, Sue was once asked if she ever regretted choosing such an adventurous life with all its risks and isolation. Her answer was striking. "Regret is something we all touch in our lives, but it is not a place to dwell. I don't live my life successfully by ruminating over what should have been a learning and growth opportunity. I don't regret much, but I sure as hell might make a different choice in a similar endeavor. One is a negative spin, the other a solid decision. And you move past it." Her words reflected her philosophy. Life was about lessons, not regrets, and strength was found in moving forward, not looking back. Still in that same interview, Sue was asked to share the scariest or most dangerous experience she had endured at Kavik River Camp. She admitted that most people expected her to talk about bear attacks, and indeed that was exactly what she described her terrifying encounter with a juvenile male grizzly. The bear had been encroaching on her camp, testing boundaries, until one day it caught her off guard and nearly killed her. Despite her injuries, Sue managed to crawl back to camp and call for help, but no one was able to reach her in time. With no other option, she stitched and cleaned her own wounds and waited 10 long days before anyone arrived. When pressed further out the incident, the interviewer reminded her, "You luckily survived an attack by a grizzly bear and said you had to sew your own head together. That really is bone-chilling. Do you remember the incident? And if so, can you talk us through what happened?" Sue's response was haunting. "I think that even by your own description, being through such an event would in and of itself make it a rather unforgettable one. Yes, I remember it very well, and I tend not to go into grand detail on it. This area is most definitely inhabited by animal residents. Thus, the law of beast, not man, rules. This bear was a juvenile male that wanted to climb the social ladder and gain some alpha status, and chose the camp and myself to do that. Had it been an older bear or a sow, I would not be here today. What do I remember? Every sound, every moment, but I keep it deep inside. I can talk about it almost in a third person or a formatted response. To bring it all forward means a long while of nightmares, replays, smells, sweats, and sounds I don't need to see. I can't live in the past. I am here. I made it. I laid 10 days before the pilot found me, and then I was flown to the lower world for surgery. Hips, spine, etc. And I am back." Sue admitted that people often ask her about the bear attack. While it fascinates everyone else, she doesn't enjoy reliving it. Still, she acknowledged the long-lasting effects, the pain she feels daily, the vigilance she has learned to maintain. She explained, "Do I hurt now? Every day. Do I look over my shoulders? Not in a paranoid way. But my eyes are on the horizon, and I am highly situationally aware." But bears were not Sue's only threat. She often reminded viewers that the Alaskan weather itself was just as deadly, if not more so. She once told the story of a time she returned to camp with 900 pounds of supplies. Because of bad weather, the plane couldn't land near the camp, forcing her to unload at the perimeter. She then had to figure out how to move all 900 pounds across the frozen ground by herself, all while a wolf pack lingered nearby, waiting for any sign of weakness. Exhaustion set in, and the freezing cold made worse because she wasn't dressed properly, for the weather nearly pushed her to give up. What made Sue different, however, was her refusal to quit. When she hit a wall, she didn't let it stop. She found a way around it. She broke the enormous task down into smaller steps, bundling her gear into manageable loads of 20 pounds. Piece by piece, she threw bags across the snow, trudged after them, and repeated the process. It was back-breaking work, but with sheer determination, she eventually got all of her supplies to camp. Sue explained her mindset with characteristic humor. "Every day I get up and I look in that mirror. I review what I did the day before, and if I need to make amends for something, I do it immediately. And if I did something really great, you'll hear me go, 'Yay, Sue!'" Sue's presence on Life Below Zero was essential to the show's success. Her story didn't just highlight the physical challenges of Alaska, it revealed the mental and emotional strength required to live there. Her journey was more than just survival. It was a living portrait of resilience, courage, and human willpower. She showed audiences that the wilderness could not only be endured, but embraced. Crew members often recalled how intense yet inspiring working with her was. One remembered, "The very first leg that I went out with Sue, we got separated from our food. Just all these crazy things happened, but it was 100 below. There was 24 hours there where I really didn't think we were going to make it because the stove didn't start and it was just terrible, but we did." Being in Sue's company is intense and it's fun. That unpredictability, to find her time on the show every day, brought new challenges, new dangers, and new discoveries, even as new faces joined the cast over the years. Sue Aikens remained unforgettable. What truly set her apart was her ability to balance toughness with vulnerability. She proved that strength wasn't about being unshakable, it was about carrying on despite the odds. Her authenticity cemented her as one of the most iconic figures in the show's history, off-camera. Sue continues to share her world with fans through Instagram, offering glimpses into her daily life, reflections on the land, and candid thoughts that remind people why they were drawn to her in the first place. Despite Life Below Zero coming to an end in February 2025 after more than a decade, Sue's story didn't stop there. Her journey continues, unfolding like the Alaskan wilderness itself, testament to survival, independence, and the bond between a woman and the wild. In terms of success, Sue also stood out financially. Reports estimate her net worth to be around $500,000. With her salary on the show reaching about $4,500 per episode, making her one of the highest-paid cast members. Beyond television, her personal life added another layer of humanity to her rugged persona. She has been married before and is a mother of two. Her first husband tragically died of a brain tumor, and later she was married to Eddie, with whom she spent 17 years before his passing in 2004. Together, they had 2 children, a boy and a girl. In more recent years, Sue has been in a relationship with Michael G. Heinrich. Her resilience even extended to personal health. In 2020, she lost around 75 pounds, sparking rumors of surgery, though she later clarified that her weight loss was natural. It was simply another example of her ability to reinvent herself while continuing to live on her own terms. Life Below Zero itself became more than just a show. Premiering in 2013 on National Geographic, the Emmy-winning series gave audiences an unfiltered look at what it meant to live off the grid in Alaska. It followed Sue along with others like Rico DeWild, Chip and Agnes Hailstone, Andy Bassa, and Jesse Holmes as they navigated brutal weather, dangerous wildlife, and personal trials. Over the years, cast members came and went. Tarek Salaton left. Kate Rourke departed after her divorce from Andy. And new faces like Johnny Rolfe and the Roach family joined, but the heart of the series always remained. Survival in a land ruled by nature, sadly. After 11 years, the series was canceled in 2025. National Geographic, under Disney's broader cost-cutting measures, quietly ended not only Life Below Zero, but also its spin-offs like Next Generation and First Alaskans. Fans were devastated, and even cast members expressed disappointment at how it ended. Chip Hailstone summed it up simply, "Well, folks, it's official. Life Below Zero has run its course. No contract. No Life Below Zero." Sue herself admitted she sought clarification but never received clear answers. For fans, the loss of the show was heartbreaking. Life Below Zero was one of the rare programs that blended entertainment with authenticity, offering not just escapism, but also respect for the raw beauty and brutality of Alaska. Even with the cameras turned off, its legacy lives on, especially through the unforgettable journey of Sue Aikens, who embodied the courage, spirit, and relentless determination that the Alaskan wilderness demands. For many fans, Sue Aikens became the face of Life Below Zero, while other cast members showcased their families, hunting skills, or traditional lifestyles. Sue represented something slightly different: pure independence. She lived alone at Kavik River Camp, often miles away from the nearest person, fully responsible for her own safety, shelter, food, and well-being. That solitude, which might break others, seemed to fuel her determination. Viewers admired the way she embraced her isolation, turning it into both a challenge and a source of strength. Her connection to the land was never superficial. Sue spoke about Alaska as though it were alive, sometimes harsh and punishing, but always deserving of respect. She often reminded audiences that she was not conquering the wilderness. She was learning to live alongside it. This mindset made her encounters with danger even more profound. Whether it was wolves prowling the perimeter of her camp, or whether systems threatening her supplies, Sue faced each challenge with the understanding that Alaska would never bend to her will. Instead, survival required humility, adaptability, and grit. Beyond her survival skills, What captivated audiences most was Sue's philosophy on life. She had endured immense hardship, loved ones, living through brutal injuries, and carrying pain that never fully went away. Yet rather than becoming bitter, she transformed those experiences into lessons. She often spoke about mistakes, not as regrets, but as opportunities to grow stronger. Too many. Its mindset was just as inspiring as her ability to haul 900 pounds of gear across frozen tundra or sew her own wounds after a bear attack. Her role on Life Below Zero also highlighted the emotional weight of isolation. Sue was open about the fact that loneliness was real, and it often hit hard during the long winter months when darkness lingered for weeks at a time. But she balanced that honesty with humor, resilience, and a refusal to let isolation define her. Fans could see that she was not unshakable. She was human. And that vulnerability made her toughness even more compelling. As the seasons passed, Sue's presence became more than just part of a television program. She became a cultural figure, someone who embodied the untamed spirit of Alaska. Her ability to laugh at herself, to tackle monumental tasks with stubborn determination, and to endure physical and emotional trials without losing her spark resonated deeply with viewers across the world. She reminded people that survival isn't just about battling nature, it's about overcoming the struggles within ourselves. 2. Even after Life Below Zero ended, Sue's legacy continued. Her fans followed her online, where she shared glimpses of her life at Kavik, reflections on nature, and updates about her health and projects. Many saw these posts as proof that Sue's story wasn't defined by television. It was real, ongoing, and just as raw as ever. She had become not just a star of a survival series, but a symbol of resilience itself. When news broke that National Geographic had canceled Life Below Zero and its spin-offs, disappointment spread quickly across the fan community. For over a decade, the show had transported viewers into a world of snow, danger, and unfiltered reality. But even as the franchise ended, Sue's chapters remained unforgettable. For her, the story was never about the cameras, it was about the bond between human and wilderness, the daily fight to endure, and the moments of beauty hidden within hardship. Today, Sue Aikens stands as one of the most memorable figures in survival television history. Her journey reminds us that strength isn't the absence of fear. Pain or mistakes, it is the refusal to let those things define us. With every story she shared and every trial she overcame, Sue proved that life, no matter how harsh, can be met with courage, stubbornness, and even a little humor. And so, whether she is remembered for battling bears, dragging supplies across frozen ground, or simply smiling into the camera with that trademark grit, Sue Aikens' legacy endures. Her life is a story of resilience against impossible odds, a testament to the willpower of one extraordinary woman in the heart of Alaska.